David, I'd love to start near the beginning, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
What did your parents do for a living, and how did that impact maybe some of the life and career decisions that you made?
So I might get a little emotional because my mom passed away 3 years ago, and today's her birthday.
Oh,
So my parents, I was very fortunate in life, and continue to be fortunate in life. My parents left Cuba in the '60s once Castro, the regime, became apparent what it was. So my father had been an accountant, and he owned a couple little cafeterias. But when he came to the United States, his first job was washing dishes. Eventually, he realized that there's a lunch truck. I guess they're called roach coaches. He saved enough money to be the first Cuban to have his own lunch truck. And back then, it was early '60s. Wasn't completely open to Cubans. So when he realized that my dad was a tough guy, but he was a small guy, he realized that if he had more guys with him, it'd be easier for him. So he made a deal, four or five of his buddies. Hey, I'll put you in business. I'll spot you. You pay me back. We'll be co-partners. We'll be partners. But you got to put my name on the side of your truck. It's got to say Jacinto Herrera for for a little bit, so they think I have more muscle with me. So that's what he did. My mom, she was a student. She just graduated, top of her class at the University of Havana. And her first job in the United States was working at a factory. She was working on the floor until the owner. So he made her his assistant. So my mother and my grandmother came with no money. My mother met my dad basically the second day because my mother's brother was good friends with my father. So they got together, got married. Um, my dad drove a lunch truck. My mom started working, elevating in different roles, and eventually they opened a very small accounting practice in Hialeah, Florida. And all of my dad's, by that time, most of the lunch truck drivers were Cuban, and they were all my dad's clients. So my dad built his practice there, and it was the American dream, man. God bless the United States of America. It was everything that you could have hoped for growing up. You didn't realize that you were in a working class neighborhood because everybody's doing what they do. A lot of my friends, their parents had similar backgrounds. They came from Cuba. They had been professionals, or even if they weren't, they just got to the U.S. and started grinding, started working, and it's a land of opportunity. So unfortunately, my father passed away when I was 12, and life comes at you kind of hard when that happens. So it was a little bit rough after that. But yeah, my parents, I love I love the way I grew up. I love the idea of, if you work hard enough, you'll get ahead. Take care of others around you. Be respectful to people. Treat everyone the way you want to be treated. And that level of going out of your way to help others. I can't tell you how many times there was a knock on our door at 10 o'clock at night because somebody got a piece of mail and they just needed either my mom or my dad to read it to them, couldn't translate it from English to
wow.
Spanish. So it's great.
As you're describing that, David, I'm just thinking of like your parents. When you think about like, it's not what your parents say; it's so how they what they model. Were they just like their work ethic? Was that something that sort of rubbed off on you? You feel?
I think so. It's when we actually had our office attached to our house. Their office was
Really?
literally next to our house. So after dinner, after hanging out, my mom would just go in and do paperwork for 3 or 4 hours. If something needed to be done, my mom would just grind it out. My father was always so meticulous in how he kept track of everything. Whether, how much money he spent that day. Take out a little piece of paper. I spent 45 cents on a soda or whatever it was. So
Wow.
those are the little things that you remember. But then there are the big things too, man. After my father passed away, we had to do this show when I was a kid in sixth grade. And I had been embarrassed to tell my mother because, you know, it cost money to do it. And she found out that the school was going to give it to me for free. And she marched down to the school. She's like, nope, we don't do that here. We don't take charity. We make our own way. And my dad was the same way. My dad was very principled. You know, it was black or white. My dad was a man of integrity, and I love saying that, and I hope that my kids say that about me too.
Wow. Did you have a lot of siblings growing up?
I have an older brother. My dad, he was married in Cuba, and he brought my brother Jack. He's 10 years older than I am, and then my sister Angie, she is 2 years older than I am.
Okay. I just imagine at that time, my dad was 27 when he passed. It was very sudden. But at 12, to your point, at 27, it took me a little longer. Life got real at 27.
Yeah.
But at 12, I imagine, looking back, that it's such a pivotal moment. You know what I mean? With just, I imagine life just changes on a dime.
It does, and kudos to my mother and my grandmother who tried to keep it relatively normal. But you know, that's when you look back and you realize who stood up when you needed him to stand up. You know, my Jose Orniz's father would drive me around to places. My buddy Steve, you know, he took me under his wing. He was a couple years older than I was. So the idea of the impact that you can make on people, even little things, man, just little things. I still
Yeah.
remember being in the hearse, going to my to the cemetery when some stranger who I do not know stopped what he was doing, took off his hat, and stood there at the position of attention. And I thought, geez, I still remember that, man.
Wow.
That was 42 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's the little things during those times when you have the ability to have an impact on somebody's life that it might be that guy never thought about that again, right? Jose's dad never he just did the right thing. So doing the right thing whenever you can, which should be always, that for me was one of the lessons that I learned about that time period. And you never know. You never know who's having a horrible day, man. You never know when you go up to someone and you just ask them, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Let's just have a conversation. Sometimes that's exactly what people need to get to that, to get through whatever they're going through. And it was an important time in my life, and I hope my kids never have to go through it. Well, they
Yeah.
will, but definitely not at 12.
I think it's a great lesson. It reminds me of that Robin Williams, like there's this sort of meme or he's like holding a piece of paper up, but it says, you know, everyone is going through something you know nothing about. And I often think about that to your point, like never assume, and just, and the smallest gestures. And even like, I know before we started recording, you were talking about your team and all those things, like the weight of our words, right? Like you don't have to be a president or a CEO of a company.
Sure.
Like you can be an individual contributor, but the weight of your words to a peer of yours, I think we forget, or at least I do sometimes, that how impactful that could be. And it's such a small thing to acknowledge, but it's so right to do.
I agree with you. And, you know, a big chunk of it comes down to the concept of empathy. To be empathetic, there are a lot of different components to it, right? But the idea of being empathetic, even though you don't know you need to be, just be genuine. Just be the type of person that you want to be proud of, that I want my parents to be proud of. The idea that when you go to sleep at night, there's only one voice you hear, it's the voice inside your head. And you don't want that voice to be full of regret, right? Or self-doubt or judge what you did. Look, we don't bat 1,000. That's not the way life is. It's never going to be a perfect day. But if you could go out of your way, even just a little bit, and show someone a little bit of empathy, bring a little bit of joy to somebody's life, especially when they need it. If you remember who was feeling sick 2 weeks ago, or if you remember whose sister just had a baby, man, be human. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Be that's the definition of a good human, someone who cares about others.
Yeah. I love
So,
that. Um, I know we were talking about football earlier, which I could talk about for 2 hours, as you know, right?
me too,
But
man.
did you have a growing up? Did you have a childhood hero? Was it an athlete, or who did you look up to as a kid?
Yeah, my dad was my hero when I was growing up. But hey, I grew up in Miami. There's only one athlete here that everybody loved, and his name is Mr. Dan Marino.
Oh,
He was drafted. I was in fact, it was right after my dad passed away. And the whole idea of Don Shula and Dan Marino, you know, the coach, exactly what you pictured. If you could draw, if you had to, if Michelangelo, you gave him a rock and said, "Hey man, what's a coach look like?" He's gonna come up with Don Shula, and then Dan Marino running and gunning, the quick release, the Marx brothers. I mean, Mark Duper, Mark Clayton. And then you had the defense. I grew up a huge Dolphin fan and a huge Yankee fan. So of course Don Mattingly in the '80s, just a phenomenal player. God knows where he would have been if he wouldn't have hurt his back
yeah,
in the early '90s. Even those last few years, he struggled through it. So those were my sports heroes for growing up. And I grew up in the church. I grew up in the Catholic Church. I really I appreciated the nuns. A lot of the teachers that I had in Catholic school, the idea of sacrifice, the vow of poverty, the idea that they're always there to help. At my dad's funeral, several of the nuns showed up, and it just, I don't know, just made me feel safe. It was great.
yeah. I love that. Did you like growing up with the boys now? Like what? How would you describe? Like I grew up Muslim, but like not really practicing, and certain uncles and aunts would pray 5 times a day. Certain ones
Sure.
wouldn't, and it's something that we talk about now. Uh, like my daughter likes to read the Bible. I think it's phenomenal. Like I
How
want
old
her
is
to
she?
know she's 10.
And she's reading the Bible on her own.
She does. Yeah,
That's
she's
awesome.
fascinated by it.
That's
And somebody
awesome.
asked me like, "Hey, what do you think?" I'm like, I want them to learn about all religions. I wish,
100%.
maybe we should have more of that. But like, what role would you say that does like faith play in your home now, knowing how you grew up?
Well, my wife and I, we actually met each other in second grade, and
Wow, really?
we went through grade school and high school together. We were always good friends, very close. And then after college, we stayed in touch. We stayed good friends. And we didn't get together until we were in our 30s. And she and I went to Catholic school together. We have a lot of the same friends growing up. And religion has always been an important part of her life, as it has been with mine. I'll give you a specific example of it. I went to China. I moved to Shanghai. My wife and my 3 kids. We spent 2 years in Shanghai. We were setting up shop, the new NCL business in Shanghai, in China. And one of the first things we did is we found a church. We found a Catholic church outside of where we lived, and the highlight for us was we'd go to the 10 o'clock mass, and then we go to East West, this restaurant that had a hybrid of American and Chinese food, even though we mostly ate Chinese food. And that was our routine. It's our routine now. We go to a 5 o'clock mass now, and uh, being part of that community. Uh, I'm not a Bible beater, man. I'm
Yeah,
not putting it out there. You asked the question, but it is important to me. But I think uh, the concept of religion, regardless of if it's Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever, the idea of the idea that there's something bigger than just you, and you're part of a community that feels the same way, that culture, that sense of community that you get, that's one of the things that I personally really enjoy about going to mass and going to the same mass, and we sit in the same pew and we see some of the same people. uh, that grounds you, it centers you, and it's almost like a little bit of a reset every Sunday. Okay, let's get back in the ring on Monday. Let's start
yeah.
fresh, man. Let's see what we can do now. Let's see how we can get better. So
You mentioned Shanghai. Like, was that the first big move with the family?
it was great. I had my wife is awesome, Patty. She's my best friend. She's the greatest. um I've been asked by the CEO at the time to run our China business. I'm like, man, I don't want to move to China. He's like, look, it's really important. Can you run the business? I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll just go there once a month. So I was going to China. I would leave usually on like a Monday, come back the following Friday. And then I would do that, every 3 or 4 weeks. So basically, I'm in the US 60% of the time, or traveling to or in China 40% of the time. And my wife, after 3 months of that, she's like, "This is not who we are. We're a family. We're not going to do this." So she wasn't super excited either. The idea of moving to China. This is in 2016. We got up and moved, and she was awesome. She viewed it as an adventure. It was my kids, my twins had just graduated kindergarten, and Thomas was about to go into kindergarten. So for them, at that age, everything's awesome. You can have
Yeah.
fun anywhere. So it was a great experience. It's a reminder. And one of the teachers from their Montessori program told us this is the age where this type of experience reinforces to them how big the world is. You know, mate, and sometimes you get so caught up in what's in front of you, and you forget that there's so much more out there. And I'm not just talking about travel. I'm talking about so many different types of personalities, so many different types of backgrounds. There's so much that you can enjoy in this life. But we as human beings, especially when it's busy, you're caught up and you got your small circle in front of you. So for my kids, it was great. They picked up some Mandarin. My wife and I, we went. We wanted to live the experience. We we went everywhere. We traveled as much as we could. We ate local food. We My wife picked up a little more Mandarin than I did. It was a fantastic experience. Really enjoyed it.
It sounds like an invaluable experience. I thought you would have to sell it, but I love how you made that transition. There's no, you didn't need a PowerPoint deck pitch. It sounds like for the family.
One of the things that she told me, and it hit home, man, and it hurt a little bit, is when she said, "Yeah, the teachers know when you're traveling because one of our sons acts differently." And I'm like,
Oh
"Yeah, okay, that stings." You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's one thing to travel Monday through Friday. I know I've got a lot of good friends, they're consultants, and they travel, and I travel a lot. But on the weekends, if I don't golf, I don't hang out with my friends. My wife and I never vacation without our kids up until just recently. The weekends are about spending time with your family. That's what matters the most to me. That's where I'm happiest, and I love doing it. So when I can't be with them, it hurt.
Before I forget to ask this question, as a kid, what was your first job that you remember?
Oh, I remember it quite well. It was, unfortunately, we're talking a lot about this in sixth grade. That summer, I spent painting parking lots. At the My baseball coach was the PE instructor at the school, and he ran a summer camp. And sixth grade, I painted parking lots. Seventh grade, I ran the rec room. Eighth grade, I got to be the one of the camp counselors. And then after that, I was old enough to drive and started getting real jobs. My first job where I had a W-2, I was a busboy at Rick's Bar in Hialeah, Florida, off of 49th Street.
So when you were painting, you were like painting the ground of like the lines, or
Dude, I want you to think back a lifetime ago, right?
yeah.
Taking out tape, right? Taping out the lines, and then bending over with a brush and painting the lines. And we did that in Miami, Florida,
In the heat.
in the summer. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
And but you know what? I got really good at painting. We actually had a little side hustle. Me and my buddy, we were in eighth grade. We painted a couple offices.
Wow. The reason I asked that, David, is just because I feel like even when I think about my childhood, working for my parents as like basically a busboy, then server and things like that. I just feel like there's so many valuable lessons, even jobs like right out of college, that about like communication, and you talk about empathy as well. And like, these are just like lessons I feel like were thrown at me because I was in these sort of very public jobs where I don't know if I would have learned that anywhere else.
I'm sure you would have, because you strike me just from this conversation as you're someone who's very intellectually curious, right? To do what you do, and you're genuinely curious about the why behind the what. And I think that when you have that level of curiosity and empathy, and you enjoy the dialogue, whether you're painting parking lots or you're working at an investment bank, it's just an opportunity to experience something else, something new.
Yeah.
And the idea of taking the time to actually appreciate that you're in the moment, right? That you're in the moment and you're having a conversation or you're going through an experience. This is life. And those first few jobs, they, depending on the cadence of the lessons, if you're open to it, you can learn not only from what went right, but what to avoid so it doesn't go wrong. Everybody's an example of something.
Yeah, 100%. What came first, university or the army?
I enlisted right out of high school. I did this pretty cool program where the summer after my senior year of high school, I graduated high school. 3 days later, I was in boot camp. Then I went to my first year of college. Then I went back to active duty, and I went through infantry and airborne school. And then after that, I stayed in the National Guard, and I would go active duty in the summers, every school I could get. So I graduated from Stetson University, and when I graduated, I actually stayed in the reserves. So my first few years after college, some of my best friends, I was talking about
Yeah.
John Mahoney earlier. Some of my best friends are guys I met, 30 years ago. And not only my friends from Hialeah growing up that I went to grade school with, but my buddies from the Army. I love saying that. It was one of my buddies from the Army. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a cool phrase. It's a cool part of your life.
Yeah. I've never been, but like, I just think of my high school football team. I played basketball too, but it just wasn't as close knit. I don't think it's the sport. Maybe, it was like 10 people on the team.
Right.
I don't, it's funny. Like, I don't want my son to play football, but like, how do you duplicate that experience? Maybe it's through another sport, but you mentioned John. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you the sport, because when I was in business school, I got roped in by a couple of my buddies to play something called rugby. I'd never heard of rugby. And they explained it to me over a beer. They're like, look, man, you get to tackle people, you're going to get hit. And then after that, you're going to hang out with the other guys on the team. I'm like, sounds like a pretty good deal. And that is the closest of all the different sports. And I played sports my whole life. That's the one that's most representative, or most consistent with the idea of the military, because you're on a team and you're on a rugby pitch. I was the hooker, which is basically the center. You're there. You need each other. You need the other guy to push you into the other guy. And you have some specialists on the team. Some guys are better at kicking. Some guys are faster. Some guys are great at tackling. But at the end of it, it's us against them. It's 15 of us versus 15 of them. And I love it, man. I love it. And I love that sports, like you said, some sports have different degrees of it.
Yeah.
But I coach my kids' Little League baseball team. I loved watching the camaraderie that they had, the bad songs they would sing, they're learning the game as they go, the support they had for each other. Sports really is a great opportunity for you to become part of a society or a community. You know what I mean?
100%. I just coached my son's team for the first time, and
it's not
it was it was crazy. I mean, it was 12 8-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
And my son was more interested in collecting bugs before practice. Sometimes he'd be on deck and we couldn't find him, but he'd be like on the roof of the dugout during the game. It's just like the funniest thing. But I understood enough that, yes, while I played until I got to high school.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to coach. And so I found somebody who's kind of like, I would call him like a little league coach influencer in a sense, and coach goes by Coach Ballgame, and he understands how to deconstruct almost everything you need to know about baseball into lessons. And so I was telling this to somebody the other day, like the most difficult part, I think, or strenuous part of the whole experience was preparing for practice, right? Because you got to keep them moving, right? You've got to make sure that you're working on the right things. And it's a funny age because they start off with coach pitch and they transition to player pitch in that league, which
God,
I was like really freaked out by, because I thought people were just going to get pegged, left and right. But when they're younger, they just hit off a tee. There's like no real skill requirement. And when they're older, they know how to do all those things. They know the rules. They know what a force out is and all that. And so I had posted on LinkedIn, like, hey, these are some of the lessons, just reflecting on that experience. I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah.
The parents obviously entrusting you sort of with their kids and all that.
Yeah.
But I try to make it as fun as possible. But I really had to lean on mentors. And it sounds funny. It's like Little League baseball, but I had to lean on people in terms of like, even the coaches that I was surrounded by, I would like go when I could, like watch their practices, pick up ideas. We do co-practices together. And so, yeah, it's such a learning experience as a parent.
Yeah.
And you get, I think you get a lot out of it too. And just an appreciation for anyone else who does it.
We had we have this meeting every Friday via Zoom, probably 120 of us. It's pretty much everybody's manager, senior manager up in the organization. And it's called business alignment meeting, but honestly, it's a culture meeting for me at this point. So we always start off with, I'll speak for a few minutes, then we'll have somebody host. And I love picking someone who hasn't hosted before, doesn't like public speaking. And hosting just means keeping the flow of the meeting, and then every department updates. And there's usually something funny that goes with it. And each host gets to ask a question, and you got to answer the question is, what's your favorite movie? Who's your first high school crush and why? It's a lot of fun. I really look forward to it, and so does the team. And one of the questions was, what's your proudest award? What are you proudest of? And I've got a few, thanks coach, Little League pictures. The picture I'm talking about, where all the players stand in front of you and the coaches are behind, and you get a snap, and it's a framed picture. I love it. I love it. And the crazy thing is, you're right. It's good to have mentors, and it's good to leverage the ones you see. But it's amazing what you can learn on YouTube on how to coach Little League.
Yeah.
How to, how do you teach a 7-year-old who's about to go into kid pitch how to wind up? How's your arm? How's your shoulder after batting practice?
Mine?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, so I would take my kids to the batting cage. My daughter likes to hit too. And now, so it's different. Like when we grew up, it was like you just put in whatever, like a token or something. Now there's like an iPad, right? And you have all these options of like speeds and stuff. So my kids think it's funny, and I would get in the cage, just kind of rotating with them sometimes, and they would put it on fastball, and it was like 80. And it was like I love Barry Bonds. I have a different appreciation after getting like 70, 80 mile an hour fastballs in there. I couldn't even foul the ball. I mean, it was
just bunt, man. Just bunt. Just put the bat out there.
I'm like sweating, I'm like in jeans sweating. And so, definitely like, steroids are not, like when the major leaguers can do it like that, I think it's an appreciation. But it's funny. Like also, it's like, I was telling my wife this, I was like, I know the days that I have practice and games, like, cause it was 3 days a week. I cannot afford to not show up as the best version of myself.
100%.
I need, 100%. Call it 8 hours or whatever. Like I got to go to bed on time. I got to make sure I'm like hydrated, like I cannot afford to feel hungover. And I don't really drink, but like if I don't sleep, I feel hungover.
Yeah.
Like I got to be on. And when I'm on, it's great. And then after practice, I need to decompress, like it's interesting. But I imagine you feel as a leader of people, like maybe there's an element of that too for that meeting. Like, it's that like, I think it was that Scott Belsky from Adobe quote, like you are, the temperature in the room is sort of based off of you. So I imagine you got to show up as the best version of yourself.
You try to. Obviously, I agree with you that you should, and you try to. but you also got to leverage your team. You got to lean on your team. If you surround yourself with with folks who have a shared vision, and culture for us is so important as an organization. You need to be able to lift each other up. I was at an event a couple years ago, and there was a presentation about culture, and literally, what is the definition of culture? And it really hit home. The speaker said, culture is what is valued at your organization, what's rewarded, the things, the tone that of what gets you ahead. And I sat and I thought, had a little Jerry Maguire moment. I'm like, okay, let me think about the people who are
Yeah.
really excelling here in my organization. Who's winning right now, and what is it about them that that I really respect and try to emulate, and hope we can duplicate. And I came up with a list. Came up with probably 10, 12 things, and we kind of live by that. And it's interesting when you think about it, when you're forced to think about, okay, so what is it that's valued in the organization as a leader? Look at the characteristics or look at the behavior that you find to be the most compelling, the one that you want to reward, the one that you wish you could spread. And a lot of it, one of the, they're just phrases, but one of them is take yourself seriously, but take your job seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. The idea that we're here, but man, I work for a cruise line. I'm not trying to solve one of the world's major problems. I'm
Yeah.
selling vacations. I'm
And I
selling.
can see you do that because, like, when a CEO or president is like on like Mad Money or something, they're very, very serious, right?
Yeah.
And I saw you on like Good Morning America, and I was like, oh, like he's having fun, right? Like you weren't taking yourself too seriously. And I think if that was your goal, it definitely came through.
Jess Sims is awesome. She's really cool. I didn't know who she was, but my buddy, he is a dear friend of mine, and his wife is a dear friend of my wife's. His wife never sends me a text. There's no reason for his wife to. She sent me a text like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you met Jess Sims. She's my favorite
Oh,
Peloton instructor." I'm like,
oh, is she a Peloton instructor? That's
no,
funny.
no, dude. She is literally the number one rated Peloton. I found this out after. I read her bio before, but I can't tell you how many people came up and talked to her. She made it easy. She made it fun. The whole ABC team. It was cool. And again, my team, Stephanie, Christina, all some of the folks that you've spoken to, I was so prepared. And by the time we got there, it's not hard, man. You're just talking. Just
Yeah.
just be you. And that's part of the what I look for in leaders. Another big one is be a servant leader. And a servant leader, man, that is like it's one of the biggest compliments that you could give someone. Wow, you're a servant leader. Your team, you view it as a badge of honor that you get to lead others. That whole leaders eat last. That idea that if you're truly a servant leader, where you put your team in front of you, guess what? They're going to work harder for you, right? And when you do it genuinely, they're going to appreciate it. So those are just some of the taglines for culture. But the first one is and always will be family first, always. If you're a director in this organization and one of your managers, his daughter has her third grade recital at 11 a.m. and he is even a little bit hesitant about asking you to take a half day to go watch, you're not succeeding as a leader here, because here we put family first always. The idea that you work at a job where you have the ability to prioritize what matters to you the most, that's when you're winning as a manager. And that's what I mean when someone says, hey, for whatever reason, honestly, at this point now, they know the answer is always yes. Just
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I hope it works out. Let me know. So that's what that's so when you talk about being upbeat, and I've got several folks that work for me that I could just stay silent and I'll just laugh the entire meeting if I let them. It's great, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But I love hearing about those values and those those taglines and those phrases, because I just often think like, you know, you have the values and like the bathroom door or something like
Yeah,
that. Like, you know, they're just on the wall.
yeah,
And if you can live by them, I had a conversation with Gary, I forget his last name, who's like the CEO of WD-40 Forever. And he's written some books about leadership and whatnot. But one of the things he said is like those values that you described, it's important because the company can function on them. And if like you're not there, they already know they can go to that
yeah,
recital. Like they already know they're expected to go to that recital, right? Like you can be out of the office, but like based on those, that's how they were making financial decisions and product decisions. And it was always about like keeping the customer first. And he shared a story where there was like an introduction of like a new material that would like decrease the cost of the product for them by X amount, but it would have had one of those labels that said like it could cause cancer or something like that. And the guy's like, you could take this to whoever you want. Like they're going to say no.
yeah.
Right. And it's to me, it's just a great example that you share that like those are values that actually live within the daily life and decision making of your employees. And I think that's when that's when you look back and like, that's pretty cool.
Thank you. I'll tell you one that just makes it easy because again, we don't just work here; we vacation here. Okay, my family loves to go on cruises. Okay,
Oh,
this
really?
is
Yeah.
we use our product. Okay,
Yeah.
we get great deals. We have an employee free cruise once a year. Every employee basically gets a free cruise. Okay, it's nominal. Okay, and plus I travel a lot. I visit ships, but the whole idea of think like a guest
Mm.
but decide like an owner. Okay. We have a phrase here. It's a balance of ROI and ROX, return on investment and return on an experience. So it's all about the guest experience. It has to be about the guest experience. Because if you provide a great guest experience, you know what happens? People say nice things about you, come back, and they bring people with them. That's great. That's awesome. But at the same time, yeah, you want to give everybody free stuff, but you got to think like an owner, right?
Yeah.
You got to decide like an owner, but think like a guest. And when you use your product, hey man, I don't work for some hair salon where I have no vested interest in hair products. I work for a cruise company. I'm a dad. I'm a
Yeah.
friend. I know what it's like to enjoy yourself on vacation. So if you love your product, man, and you love your team, come on, man. What more could you ask for in a career?
Yeah, that makes sense. Before I forget to ask you about the Army, just a few questions there.
Yeah,
Did you jump out of airplanes?
I did. I did. Very proud. 142nd LRS. It was actually when I joined the Army. I didn't know much about it. I can look back and say, oh, I wanted to give back to the country that gave me so much. Initially, I didn't know that, but wow, it did. And then once I got there, I wanted to try, okay, what's cooler than this? What's cooler than this? So I was part of a airborne unit, long range surveillance unit, 6 guys.
Did you guys have to
No,
jump at night?
yeah, sure. It's
What was it like? Like, do you remember like the first time?
I joke. A good buddy of mine's like, all my I'm afraid of heights. All my jumps are night jumps. I kept my eyes closed the entire time. But look, man, for me, the military, when people ask me about the military, I tell them, that was about 30, 35 pounds ago. I look back on that part of my life and I love it. But
Yeah.
there's so many more people who've done so much more. The way that we treat our veterans and our military says a lot about a culture. But yeah, I loved it. I loved every part of it. I go to reunions every once in a while. But jumping from a plane's great. Oh, mate, you should try it. You ever done it?
No, I don't think I could ever do it. Like skydiving, I have no interest.
How about if your kids say, Dad, when we turn 18, we want to jump out of a plane, want to go do a tandem. Are you up for
No.
it?
I think the last uncomfortable thing I did was cold plunge. And it never gets easier, but I
Yeah,
do it because I know it's good for me. This would not be easy. Um, my sister's done it. She likes
yeah,
to do it. It's just not in my blood to jump out of a plane. So I like, to me, it's just one of the to do it. I remember I was sitting down. I didn't really like make friends with many of my professors one of the guys that was my advertising professor, he was like one of the guys that, I don't think he was the founder, but part of that like whole pet rock thing back in the day. He was older. And so we had coffee a few times, and he was telling me how he used to jump out of airplanes in the Army. And I just like,
Yeah.
at night, I was like I was just dumbfounded, like how you guys can do that.
It's a bonding experience. But you know what? Jumping out of the plane that's the easy part. Once you're on the ground, especially if you're a Ranger, SEAL, Green Beret, it's the work they do when they're on the ground and they got to get under 100 pounds and hump 20 miles and risk their lives. That's the jumping's the easy part at that point. It's a great experience. I love that it's part of my history.
Yeah.
But it's just, so many people have done so much more. That's why I'm really proud of the military appreciation program. There are a few veterans here at NCL, and a couple of years ago, we created a military appreciation program. And it was actually really awesome because it's so genuine, it's so authentic. Do you know what a challenge coin is?
No.
So it's very popular, not only in the military, but also in first responders. And it's a coin where each unit makes their own coin and you personalize it. And if you and I are out having a drink, I'll slap my coin on the table. And if you don't have yours, you're buying the next round. And the history.
I thought you were going to flip for the round. That's what
Well, the history behind it's pretty cool. It's back in World War I, where you didn't have radios back then, and you couldn't confirm who was actually part of your unit or not. And you'd carry a coin and say, "Yes, I'm a good guy. Let me into your AO, your area of operation." So anyway, we made a challenge coin. We put together a packet. We had pins. It is it's an authentic program that was designed for veterans by veterans. So that's the tagline, but I mean it. Like our head of our SVP of security, global security, it's a big job here. He's a retired Navy SEAL. The woman who runs she's director of our international business. She was a former paratrooper as well. The guy who designed all the stuff, the guy used to be a director of our creative team. He was a former MP, 2 tours in Iraq. When you have that culture, when you have that mentality, when you have that shared experience, even though none of us knew each other before we got here, there's that acceleration of friendship. And that's one thing that the military does for you. It gives you this opportunity to have a unique and accelerated relationship with others that it binds you forever. And once you've had that, once you've experienced that, it makes you really comfortable around others who have done that as well, who've been part of the military as well. So it's a great part of my life, but like I said, it's a long time ago, man.
Yeah. Tell me about John Mahoney.
So John Mahoney was my team sergeant. He, like I said, he'd been a Green Beret for a long time. He, when we got to this LURS unit, he was starting a new team, and he got to pick. There's 6 guys on the team, and I went in and I punched guys. We showed up and tried to qualify, and he picked me to be his point man, and he picked Ski to be his radio man, and Pacheco to be his assistant team leader, and Kenny and Justin. So the 6 of us just spent a lot of time together. And this was in the reserves. And I was living in New York, and John, I was there maybe 2 months, and it was Thanksgiving. He's like, "What are you gonna do for Thanksgiving?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "Yeah, you come to my house. I'll pick you up, take you home." And I met his wife and his 3 kids, and a mentor relationship, a godfather type of relationship, was created then. And I've stayed in touch with him my whole life. I view him as, when you ask who are your mentors, who are the people you look up to, I've got a lot of John Mahoney's lessons are embedded in my brain, and they will be for a long time. My wife loves Sergeant Mahoney. My kids learned to shoot at Sergeant Mahoney's house in upstate New York. And it's great, man.
What's one thing about Sergeant Mahoney that you feel like is just like a life career lesson, whatever it might be, but just something that you feel like, us not knowing him, something that we can learn from?
He always led from the front. He led by example. He never asked you to do something that he either hasn't done before or is willing to do with you. So having that credibility as a leader, someone who's done what you are aspiring to do and is willing to teach you the right way to do it while he's doing it with you again, even though he's done it 100 times. That stuck with me, and it's obviously as a leader, you want to get leverage, got to delegate. But when you go out of your way and you take the time to teach somebody the right way the first time, you've now created a multiplier. So that, and he's old school, man. He's just an old school dude who said something. His word was bond. If he said he's going to be there at 7, be ready at 6:45, because if you're not early, you're late. And he just, for him, the difference between right and wrong was pretty clear. Black and white was pretty clear.
I was dropping my kids off. Well, went with them to Taekwondo last night, and I said, like, we're always rushing, right? I said, if you guys are not on time, you're late.
Yeah.
Or if you're not early, you're late. And
Yeah.
like, they said to me, they're like, but you're always late, Daddy. I was like, all right, I gotta make an example. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like, for example, we're talking about church. I cannot stand being late to anything. But if the priest has started walking down, and mass has officially started, that ruins it for me, man. We have to be there 5 minutes early. If you're not early, you're late. But also, you know what? It's about respect.
Yeah.
If I told you I was going to meet you there at 4, I'm going to be there at 4 because I'm going to respect you. Because if I don't value you enough to be on time, what am I doing? You know what I mean?
100%.
It's about treating people the way you want to be treated. That's all it is.
Yeah. How are you on time? Because I have some more questions, but I want to be mindful.
Man, I got another 30 minutes. I'm good till 5:30.
Okay, let's do it. Why did you double major in college? Why finance and English?
Well, my wife makes fun of me. She reminds me it's a minor in English, but I joke with my friends. I'm like, I just wanted to make sure I got the language right, boys. I just want to make sure I got it right. Finance was for business. For my career. English was my passion. I love writing, love reading. I really enjoyed the concept of juxtaposing those two. And it was pretty funny. I'd be in English classes and I never saw anybody from finance. And when I go to finance, there would never be anybody from English. So the polar opposite approach, the whole left brain, right brain, it was great. I loved it. I've always been pretty curious as a kid, and I like to vary my music and vary my majors.
That's great. I mean, just even in hindsight, yeah, like reading, writing, communicating, like I don't know if you thought about it in the moment, but it's a great skill to brush up on, especially
when I was in business school. We had a communications class, and a lot of people say the same thing. It was probably one of the more important classes you could take. The whole concept of formatting, white space, having a flow, emphasizing the different talking points. Absolutely. Even though Copilot and AI help you write letters now, it's still good to be able to do it on your own if you need to.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's the advantage of those tools, and then the risk. I was talking to kind of a mentor of mine in the podcast world, and one of the things he said to me was, certain things I need to sear in my brain and I need to know them. And so there's certain times where we shouldn't take that shortcut. We want to know how we got to the answer, because we want to make sure that we internalize it. Right. And so I think there's the good time and the bad time to use those tools.
So your kids are still young. My kids are in high school, and geometry this past year. Okay, guys, we're gonna study geometry together. And I'm like, where's your pencils? Where's your paper? We got the iPad, Dad. I'm like, iPad. iPad. We gotta do math homework. We do it on the iPad. iPad? What are you talking about? But you're right. And look, if it wasn't for spell check, I wouldn't be able to get through a paragraph. Yeah. But you're absolutely right about the idea that if they're and you kind of wish you could bifurcate the stuff that you are willing to delegate to AI.
Yeah.
And it varies at what point you are in your career, right? You want those first couple of years, you want your first couple jobs out of college to be the ones where you're a sponge and you're learning and you're understanding, like you said, how you got to the answer. Don't, it's great to know the shortcut. It's better to know the shortcut after you know the answer. Then you can
Yes.
get the shortcut
Yeah.
anytime you want.
My high school football coach was my geometry teacher, and I believe he was in the military. So it was definitely a class that was memorable, to say the least. How did you? Okay, before I forget, just give me the most valuable lesson that you learned at Dartmouth. I'm sure you get all the time. Should I get my MBA, etc. What's one or two things that stood out to you from going to a great business school?
So I got to tell you, for me, Dartmouth was an opportunity to get away from. I'd already lived in New York, and I assumed I was going to go back to New York, hopefully work on Wall Street. So I wanted to do something that was as far away from that as possible. But the Dartmouth community, it's not before you can take it before you're part of a network and you do networking, you got to be a part of the community. And I loved my 2 years in New Hampshire. I loved my time at Dartmouth. You really felt like everyone was supportive. Everyone was. It wasn't a sharking environment. It wasn't overly competitive. I really enjoyed how diverse my classmates were. Everybody's background and nationalities. Having that opportunity to get exposed to, there's the quants and the poets and everything in between. So one of my key takeaways from Dartmouth was find a place that you feel comfortable in. Maybe that doesn't work for everybody. Maybe others wanted a more competitive environment where it was, more quant focused. If you MIT, if you really want to be a quant, you go to MIT. If Stanford's obviously fantastic, but they're different programs around the world. But I guess for me, what worked is that I picked the one that worked really well for me. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't go chasing the label or the school. I went to the place where I felt the most comfortable, because when you're comfortable, you get the most out of it. You know,
Yeah,
and
no, that's great advice.
I think that impacted the way that I think about my company. Right, the idea of if people feel comfortable here, if they feel the culture, if they bought in, and you genuinely care about them, and they feel that, they're going to do more. And that's why we got the best team in the industry working at Norwegian Cruise Line right now. So
Yeah, it's I mean, culture is one of those, and we talked about this a little bit, but I was about to cancel my masterclass subscription, and I was watching Coach K's masterclass.
yeah,
I got hooked.
I saw
And
that interview with him too. He's
oh yeah, thank you.
he's
His
awesome.
masterclass, again, I don't manage anybody, I don't run a company, but it just felt like Coach K was just sitting in a chair. There happened to be a camera, and Coach K was himself. And he talks about like how they created values at Duke, like to
Yeah,
your point, like real tangible stuff.
yeah,
And I just got hooked. And then I had been trying to interview him for 5 years. And like a lot of things in life, it was because a lot of people ask me like about Coach K, a few other guests, and they asked me like, how did you get to talk to him? It's like, it wasn't anything I did. I think it was just timing, because he stopped coaching. He stopped traveling as much. He
yeah,
was talking about leadership. He
yeah,
had a master class, and I was working with the same people that I had been exchanging emails 5 years prior. Right. And so there's some valuable lessons there, but I love his take and your take on culture, because I think like it becomes real versus the, sort of the hearsay stuff.
So who prepared you in the same way that Rich Gannon prepared you for Gruden? Who prepared you for Coach K? Or did you do all that because there's so much available and so many different resources that you could get online or directly?
It's different when there's a lot of information. There's a book by Ian O'Connor that's back there somewhere, which Coach K told me is a biography, not an autobiography. I was like, okay, I got you. But obviously the book was great. The master class was fantastic. So
Yeah,
there's threads you have to pull from that
yeah,
master class. It's funny you asked that question. A buddy of mine messaged me like the weekend before. He's like, hey, have you seen the Redeem Team on Netflix? He said, no, like maybe I should watch it. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but you're talking about the '92 team, right?
No, this is that's the dream
Well, that's
team.
the dream team.
This
I'm
is the
sorry.
redeem team. This
Oh, this
is
is after we came back with silvers and coach. Yes, I mean with bronze. That was when we came back with the bronze, right? Yeah,
yeah, this was like the fall of the team, and Jerry Colangelo, usually I think they vote who the coach should
yeah,
be. And they bypassed that whole process and they said the
yeah,
only person
yeah,
who can fix this
yeah,
is Coach K.
yeah,
And this is before Kobe joined the team. And Kobe obviously had been like, from like a PR standpoint, kind of in trouble and stuff like that a little bit. His brand was a little tarnished in a sense, maybe. And they
and
needed
threw Paul Gasol in the first play. He's like, I
that.
know exactly what
Yeah,
he's going to
that's that.
do.
Yep.
He's going to set a pick, and I've seen the interview where LeBron and D Wade are like, what's he saying? And he ran and he set the tone for everything. But yeah, he credits Coach K for setting the tone for the locker room as well. I love it.
Yeah. They needed that leadership presence. And they
Yeah,
knew if Kobe was going to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. the next day, rather than partying in Vegas, because I think they were
yeah,
practicing in Vegas, the next
yeah,
day, two guys showed up. And the next day, the whole team
yeah,
shows up. And
yeah.
so that documentary,
Have not seen it. I will check it
yeah,
out.
I mean, you're going to be in for a ride. Like it's incredible. I watched it multiple times, and there's this part you'll know when you see it. There's this moment. It's like Coach K. I mean, just tells I think they're about to play Spain or somebody, and he just tells them like, I'm not gonna, he cusses and he's like, I'm not gonna lose like this. And it just gets really intense. And I didn't know if I would have 15 minutes with Coach. I didn't know if I'd have 30 minutes,
Yeah,
but I was prepared for either. And when he got on, he had a TV thing right afterwards
yeah,
remotely. And I said, I'm not going to be the reason he's late. So I wanted to make sure I got him out on time.
yeah.
And so it might have been 20 minutes or so, maybe 20, 25 max.
Yeah.
But I got my Kobe question in. I wanted to know, um, Jimmy V, like the whole Jimmy V
Yeah, of course. Cancer
formation.
Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy V and him are like, they were close friends. They're
Yeah.
both Polish. They both have like 3 daughters. Like there's so many crazy
Yeah.
tie-ins.
Yeah.
And in his book, so you look for clues, right? As like as an interviewer, you're looking for clues that are meaningful.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that Jimmy V said before he died, he told Coach K, he's like, just don't screw it up. Meaning like, don't lose sight of your family, because you can easily do that as a basketball coach because you're consumed all the time. And so like, I know that was years ago. But like, it's obviously you don't lead with that question, right? But like, those are the things that like I really wanted to know.
Yeah.
So the preparation was significant, but yeah, like I think it came across in terms of like the content I was hoping to get out of it.
So what was the Kobe question that you did ask him though?
I think it was around, I forgot what it was exactly, but I think it was around, because I made a clip of it, but it was around his like, what did it mean to have like Kobe there basically? And it was a lot of the stuff we just talked about. And, this is obviously after Kobe passed away.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting for him to sort of reflect. There's so many good clips in that movie where you'll see it, where he had to give Kobe, he had a really difficult, you talk about like difficult conversations at work. He needed Kobe to stop taking bad shots, and they're about to like go to China or something, and he pulls him in his office, and he basically pulled the tape. He's like, we're not going to win if you're taking these shots, like, and like none of them went in. Right. He was just like pulling up, right? Yeah. And he's like, I was so scared. Right. This is Kobe in his prime. Like he was like so scared to say this to him, but he just told him, and he had obviously the evidence to back it up. And he says that Kobe looked at him and he's like, okay, I agree. And that was it. Right. It's just like this moment. He's like, okay, we can get on the plane. And it was just like, he was so coachable, I
But
think
you know
is,
what, man? He was coachable because he's Coach K. If 95% of the other coaches in the league did that to Kobe
oh,
Bryant,
I agree.
I don't think that would have been the response from Kobe,
I
right?
agree. Yeah. It's, he was the only guy who could probably do it. I interviewed a guy, um, who was the astronaut tasked with fixing the Hubble telescope when it was sent into space with a faulty mirror. I don't know if you remember that. It was like this, $100 million debacle with a dozen other things wrong. And I read about this guy in a book about being resourceful, and it just fascinated me. Like, why is this the guy? Like, why choose this one guy to lead this mission? He had a team of people with him,
Right.
but he was the greatest generalist you'll ever hear about. I mean, he was a heart surgeon, an electrician, a pilot. I mean, like crazy experience where he could view problems differently than anybody else. And he was an astronaut, right, as well. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just forgot where I was going with that one.
Well, we were talking about Kobe, and you're talking about the credibility that Coach K
Oh, he was the
brought.
only guy who could do that. Like, he
Right.
was the only guy who could do that. Coach K was the only guy who can coach that team.
Yeah, great, cool.
Um, what would you say is like your most proudest moment so far leading the company? Biggest milestone, proudest moment? What comes to mind?
We talked about it a little bit. The military appreciation program. I went to a reunion of my old unit, and we were just talking about, so what are you doing now? Guys catching up after 20 years. You revert back to where you were when you were 22 years old and jumping out of planes, but just catching up. And it hit me. I'm like, these are the guys I served with are the guys that come on our cruises. And how are we not doing something special for them? So it was a phenomenal team effort. Neshme, Matt, Louis, a lot of us who were prior service got involved in it. And when we did that as a team, when we rolled it out, when we got all of the materials ready, when we got the approval, it took a while. It took programming, it took a lot of stuff. And when we made that happen, oh man.
Did you get feedback? Like, did anybody that you knew say something to you?
First guy I reached out to was Mahoney. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. He's like, yeah, it's a good thing. Cool, great. I can't tell you the amount of positive feedback I got when the program was active from people who were our guests, the letters, the emails. It was pretty cool. I had one of my guests send me this mug. He was really appreciative of it. And he made this mug for me. 11 Bravo, that's infantry. 11 Bravo, that's the MOS for infantry. I get these things all the time from people who sincerely pour their heart into it.
Wow.
And it's often from the wives. I was on your ship. My husband was so proud, was so appreciative. Thank you so much. Uh yeah, and yeah, it's good business. That's cool. Great. But we did it for the right reasons. We literally did it for the right reasons. It was a genuine program. It was a genuine effort. It's authentic.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the things I'm most proud of at Norwegian.
What about this island that I've heard about and I heard you talk about? Like, was that, I mean, do you put that on the list of, like, you talk about obviously a significant team contribution? I've never heard of anything like this. I don't know if it's normal or just it looks like a crazy place you would think about on paper, but like you've designed in real life.
This is a game changer for us from a business perspective. But I'll go back a minute. In that Friday meeting that I talk about, one of the questions was, "What's your best GSC?" Great Stirrup Cay is the name of the island. What's your best GSC memory? My kids learned how to snorkel at GSC 10 years ago. Other people talk about the fact that they got engaged at GSC. Other people talk about the fact, these are employees who visited our island and said, yeah, it's the last cruise I took with my grandmother before she passed away. Those types of memories. So it's important to my organization culturally, but as far as business, this is an inflection point in our company's history. We are investing. We have a strategic shift that we're investing heavily in the Caribbean. Norwegian Cruise Line, we sail all around the world. We can go to Alaska, Europe, Bermuda, Asia, Hawaii. But the Caribbean that's really the epicenter of cruising, and Miami is the capital of cruising. So we had GSC. We bought this island 50 years ago, and it's a phenomenal experience. It's great. It's a beautiful private island. The water is beautiful. It's great. You feel like you're on a true private island in the Caribbean. And what we're doing, and other people have done something similar, but we went ahead and we took something that was really good, and we invested. We built a 28,000 square foot pool, 9,000 square foot splash pad, 170-foot tower, all the stuff that we talked about in GMA and in other places. And we are giving our guests exactly what they want. They want more options, more freedom, more flexibility. This is a very exciting time to watch it come through. We've been working on this for years. And, we talk about a team effort. You've got job titles that you didn't know existed are part of working groups to get something done together. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool when you sit in a room with folks you don't really know and you've got this shared vision, and it has been an ongoing process. Announcing it and rolling it out last week, yeah, that was cool. That was the high point, but it was so awesome, all the work that went into it. So what we're doing with this island is we're taking something that our guests love, and we're just making it better. And it's been a phenomenal project to work on. This will be one of the things that's on the list of things that have happened at Norwegian Cruise Line that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud to be a part of the team that is changing the trajectory of our company.
That sounds really exciting. I mean, it's like opening Disneyland or something. It's like this massive undertaking. It looks like. Congrats on that. Talking about your team on that note, if I were to talk to them, what would you hope that they say about you as a leader?
That's an interesting question. Look, I've been called Papa Bear more than once, and back to the culture. There are a couple culture points that I take a lot of pride in, and the last one is actually leave no doubt whose side you're on. If you're in a room, say nice things about people who aren't in the room. You know what I mean? And when the history books are written and everyone looks back at who helped who and who didn't, leave no doubt that I am on your side. The idea of being as supported as I felt at Dartmouth, as I felt on Team 5, as I felt, when I worked with Sergeant Mahoney, that level of let your team know that I'm here, man. I'm here. I'm going to empower you as much as you want. I'm going to give you as much authority as you need. But if you need help, I'm right back here. And if anything goes sideways, there's a couple other ones is share the victory, own the setback, right? Something doesn't go right, I own it, okay? Something goes right, awesome job, look what we did together. Yeah. And when there is a setback, shake it off and then get back in the ring, man. Get back in, all right? That didn't work out, that stinks. Mourn for 5 minutes and then get back in knowing that I got your back and that I'm going to leave no doubt that I'm on your side. That's what I hope they say.
David, do you have, are you familiar with that? Like, I'm sure you are, that saying like foxhole friends from like the military.
Yeah.
Do you ever talk about that at work? Is that something that, like an analogy, so to speak?
I think part of that leave no doubt is similar to that. There is,
Well, tell me your explanation of foxhole friends, because I'd love to hear it.
For me, when I think about that, I think about the idea, okay, something not awesome is about to happen or something challenging, something difficult. Who can you call on? Who do you know is going to be capable and resourceful? But more importantly, who's gonna cover your back? I'll give you a good one. I tell people this all the time. Let's say that you're sick, okay? You're not really like terminally ill, but you go to the doctor. He's like, look, man, we're going to put you in this room. The goal is for you to sleep 12 hours. And we found as doctors that people sleep best when there are two people standing outside their door who give them the best sense of protection and comfort. Okay. Who are your two people? And I think that's for me,
Yeah.
when I think about the idea of like, for me, obviously it's my wife. It would have been my mom, it'd be my sister, it'd be Sergeant Mahoney, it'd be a handful of guys that I served with in the Army. But the nuance is they have to care about you enough to do everything that they can. And then they have to be capable of doing the job at hand.
Or else
So,
you're smoked, basically. Right? You
or
get
else you're
shot in the
not going
head.
to
Yeah.
get the sleep that you need. You're not.
Yeah.
So for me, that whole idea of who makes you feel safe, who gives you that comfort that you know that this person not only completely cares about you, but is capable of helping you get through whatever you're going through. I
Love
think
it.
that's
Yeah.
probably how I'd consider a foxhole friend. That's how I define
I love it. What's the hardest business decision you've had to make in your current role? Like, what would you say?
it. Toughest business decision I've had to make.
I mean, you've been there 10 plus years. I know,
Yeah,
like whatever comes to mind, but like, something you
yeah.
feel like maybe we can learn from, something you've learned from.
I'll tell you. Sometimes the right business decision comes out of personal relationship cost. We when we went to China, we went from zero brand recognition where nobody knew Norwegian Cruise Line was. There were other established uh, Western cruise lines there, and within 18 months, we had the highest yielding product in the market. And I had 2 employees when I got there. I had 65 employees. I was the only Westerner who was there, and these people, I had a lot of love for these people. I mean, when I told you that we spent 2 years in China, I would go every weekend. Two or three of them would probably go with my family. We would just go and they would interpret for us, and we lived a life together. And I really had a lot of appreciation. And part of starting, part of the startup mentality is getting people motivated uh, to do what needs to be done. And when you surround yourself with the right people, you can do anything. Um, it was the right business decision for us to close that business down, because the the financial impact of taking that ship out of China and putting her in Alaska, it was a significant and clear win for the business. We had to close that office down. That stung, but it was the right decision. Going back to think like a guest, decide like an owner. Hey man,
Wow.
you gotta you gotta think like an owner. You gotta decide like an owner. It's tough, but it is what it is.
Did you have part decision making in that process? Like you agreed with it, or were you were you against it at the time?
Initially I thought I could just fix it. I think I could. Man, you know what? Give me another month. I can do more. I can do more. And then when it became apparent that this was the right business decision, you have to support your leadership team. You have to be united. When once you make a decision as a team, leave no doubt whose side you're on. I couldn't leave any doubt whose side I was on. It was a tough decision, but it was the right decision.
Yeah.
So
I just can't
sometimes,
imagine, like, you've been there 2 years, you moved your family, and so like you're so invested. It must be so natural to just want more time
yeah,
to your point, to fix it. And sometimes it sounds like you got to know when to walk away at the same time.
yeah, and having that separating the emotion. I'm an emotional guy, man. I can't help it.
I could tell. Yeah, I could
I put
tell.
my heart into it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and uh sometimes it stings. Sometimes it stings when you invest personally and not just financially, when you invest time and energy and love and compassion and things don't work out. Yeah, that's a little piece of you stays behind.
I got a
Um,
couple rapid fire questions
go
for
ahead,
you, if that's okay.
go ahead.
Okay. What's the best career advice you ever got?
The best career advice I ever got was treat everything as a learning opportunity. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you're doing. Be in the moment, learn the right way to do it, and observe the wrong way to do it, so you know how you could avoid that.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew at 40?
Um, Patience. Sometimes just because you really want something and you try really hard, sometimes you just have to be patient.
What's one thing you do for your own mental health?
Fish. I love fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love fishing with my sons. If I can't fish with my sons, I'll fish by myself. And if I or I'll fish with a couple of really close friends. I don't play golf. I don't do
Yeah.
much. I love to fish and I love to spend time with my wife, man, because when I'm with her, I am my best self.
That's really cool. Sounds like something Don Shula would have done being in Miami.
Thank you for that. That's a huge, huge compliment, sir.
You do see a lot of those coaches. They do go fishing.
Jimmy Johnson, he owns a bar right
Yes.
up the street from my place in the Keys.
Okay. That's funny. Um, a book that either you gift a lot or that's had a big impact on you, what comes to mind? Business or non, fiction, either way.
Yeah, that's a good one. Uh, I used to always throw these paperbacks, just nickel paperbacks. Always had them in my briefcase, and I like to. That's how I used to tune out. Just read some brain candy. And the eagle has landed, and the eagle has flown. These are all books by. Oh my God, how am I forgetting? Jake, oh man, oh, this is embarrassing. I probably read 30 of his books, and I cannot believe that I do not have Jack Higgins. Goodness, that would have
Oh,
killed me. So I read a lot of Jack Higgins.
okay.
There's the idea of books, learning from books, and having your favorite author. It's like having your own private little friend. Like
Yeah.
you're especially when you read fiction. You're the director, you're the producer, you're the casting agent. I love doing that, man.
Love it. Last question. You're talking to somebody early on in their career. What are 2 or 3 pieces of life/career advice that you would impart on them?
For your first couple jobs, hire your manager because if you have the right manager, you're going to learn a lot. Be a sponge. Come in early, stay late, work harder than anybody else. But then at the same time, live in the moment, man. Be human. Get to know the people around you. Don't only talk to the person who sits right next to you. Figure out what the security guard's all about. Talk to the parking attendant. Uh, I I talk to I'm here late sometimes. I talk to the maintenance staff and we chit chat. She's got a side hustle. This is her side hustle. She works in a social media uh startup. I think that when you first start out, man, the way you experience the world is by getting out there and using every opportunity to get to know people, get to meet people, and just be in the moment.
Love it, David. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate you leaning into this and just being thoughtful with the responses and just sharing it. I think you're really open. And I feel like that comes through and just the authenticity of your answers. Like people can actually learn some great valuable lessons here. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I feel like we know each other,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
you make this really easy, almost a little too easy. I'm sure when I look back and listen to this, I'm like, man, I shared a little more than I probably should have. But
Hey, you can cut anything out.
no, man.
The Dolphins fan.
All right,
Funny.
man.
Cool.
Omid, you're cool, man. I really appreciate the time.
Likewise.
If you need anything else, let me know, man.
Okay. Thanks so much, David. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.